Hello, everybody. Welcome to the award-winning RotoWire Fantasy Basketball Podcast. It is Friday, April 30th, 2021. Alex Barutha here with Ken K-Train Kreitz.
All aboard!
And filling in for Shannon is our special guest, RotoWire DraftKings Sportsline contributor, Mike Barner.
Woo! Welcome, Mike!
I'm honored to be an alternate amigo. This is like the day I got married, the days my kids were born, and now the day I'm the alternate amigo. This is a dream come true.
Not necessarily in that order.
She can hear us. Quiet.
Thank you again, Mike, for joining us.
In Mike's honor, Alex, in Mike's honor, I've worn my old school starter Bulls hat.
Yes.
When I lived in Wrigleyville. I'm going to flip that around now that the surprise is over. But go ahead. Run with things, Alex. Go.
For those of you that are not currently watching live on YouTube, Facebook, Periscope, I think we're live on as well. You can find this podcast on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, RotoWire.com.
Some obscure Russian media outlets.
Yeah. Let's just jump into the news right away. We had Kevin Porter Jr. go off for 50 points in the Rockets' upset win over the Bucks yesterday. That was a 143-136 victory over Milwaukee. Porter became just the fourth player in NBA history to score 50 points in a game before reaching the age of 21. He was also the youngest player ever to post 50 points and 10 assists. The full line was 50 points on, I'm not going to read all the shooting, but 26 shots, 11 dimes.
Shockingly efficient.
Very efficient. 50 points, 11 dimes, 5 rebounds, 1 block. Very James Harden-esque, if I do say so myself.
Ooh, you may.
Giannis only played 1 minute in this game after tweaking his right ankle. He's probably not going to play tonight in Chicago. So on one hand, sorry, Mike, that you don't get to see Giannis. But on the other hand, for a team like Chicago that's trying to make the play-in, this is probably the best case scenario.
They'll still lose. I can't. They'll still find a way. And they lost to the Magic, so I don't have my hopes up.
Oh, that was terrible. Yeah.
It's tough when Levine's out, right? Because it just ends up being a lot of Kobe White, who is like kind of doing only okay off the bench. And
Kobe White's like a bad Kevin Porter night. Too many shots and some turnovers that are ugly. And
yeah, he's one of those don't shoot it. Okay, great shot kind of guys. When they go
right.
Alex, how the heck did your Bucks and Drew Holiday allow Houston to score 143 points? When I saw the scoring total, I assume it went to overtime or double overtime. How did this happen?
Well, not having. I mean, I think Giannis going out early.
Yeah,
kind of messes up the game plan. I think the game plan kind of goes out the window at that point, and it turns into a pickup game. But defensively, they were switching a lot. So, like, if you watched, I mean, you're not going to ask people to watch a whole game, but if you watch a Kevin Porter highlights, which you should definitely do, you'll see that a lot of times the Bucks would switch Brook Lopez onto Kevin Porter. They did that for like 3 straight possessions. So I think
Holiday. You mean the fleet of foot Brook Lopez?
Yeah.
You want him on a point guard. Yeah. Hey, Lopez, I know you can barely touch your shoes, but would you go guard the quickest guy on their team?
Yeah, I think so. Drew Holiday was on him maybe like 50% of the time. I mean, he still got torched, right? Like, there's no question about that.
He's a stopper. What is that? What's going on?
Yeah, weird.
Holiday's played a great night himself, as you talked about. 29 points, 10 assists. Yeah. He shot 12 of 19, but it must have just evolved into a pickup game. But we'll stop beating you up for this, and let's get angry about the Celtics. Kemba Walker unlikely to play tonight at home versus the Spurs. Oh, shocking! Walker's not in the lineup. This is killing my FSGA expert league. I'm in the playoffs, baby. I could like get mentioned at our next convention with a W. But no, Walker's not playing, and I have him in my lineup. Anyway, Boston has absolutely zero lineup continuity with 9 games left. Time Lord has returned. Smart will return tonight after 1-game suspension for threatening language towards a ref. Guys, have you two ever used threatening language in the workplace?
Well, I've been working from home now for 4 years. So sometimes I do get extremely frustrated with myself. and give myself a tongue lashing in the mirror when my waiver wire moves doesn't pick up. But other than that, I only have myself to yell at. So, How about you, Alex?
Did you? Yeah, when the RotoWire office, and things ever get heated?
No, I don't think so. I can say I was using some threatening language when I heard the Aaron Rodgers news yesterday. I was definitely typing some threatening language to friends. Other than that, no, I don't. The RotoWire office is usually in
deadly quiet. If you were to use threatening language, everyone would hear it in the RotoWire.
If you were to use any language, people are like, "What?" Yeah, everyone's got their heads down and working for the most part. But no, I don't think.
I like yelling Pledge Shanky and Pledge Ilk, who are two of the RotoWire owners, but were younger than me in our fraternity, so I can still do that. But we are not giving any fantasy basketball advice with this, so I apologize for the terrible tangent. Bring us back, Alex. Tell us about the news in Dallas.
Oh, boy. Kristaps Porzingis. Hey, he returned last night. And then he got hurt again.
Wah, wah.
Left in the second half due to soreness in his right knee. So it was his left knee that he tore his ACL in while with the Knicks in 2018. And then last season in the playoffs, he hurt his right knee, which is the knee he just hurt yesterday.
You need two good knees.
No,
I'm starting to wonder long-term, which is going to be his good knee? Like when he gets his inevitable knee injury next season, are they going to say, "Oh, that's the one that had the tear," or "Oh, that's the one that had the surgery"?
They both had tears. I mean, the left was the ACL, the right was the meniscus. Mike, what do you think fantasy owners here do? Because the Mavericks have back-to-back appealing matchups. Like they play Washington on Saturday, they play Sacramento on Sunday. They play 4 games next week. Is Porzingis someone that you're just like you're going to opt on the side of caution and consider benching him most of the time?
Yeah, I think so because they're obviously want him healthy for the playoffs. And with them playing 4 games in each of the next 2 weeks, I think best case scenario is he plays a max of 3 games in each of those weeks. And then who knows if he makes it through the games that he actually does play. So I think starting him is, if you've got a championship run on the line here, I wouldn't want to put it on his shoulders or breaking knees. I wouldn't want to mess with him.
They got 4 games next week. 2 are against Cleveland, which if he was healthy would be just delicious. But they're going to rest him for one of those Cavalier games.
Yeah, they'll scream rest situations, definitely.
Right.
Yeah, this is a tough point in the year. I mean, so I guess some fantasy leagues are over. Some are in the last week of the playoffs. It's kind of an odd season because I think some people, like in a league that I set up, I ended the season like 3 weeks ago. I was like, I'm not messing with the end of this season. So if you're still in the league, I agree with Mike. I think you have to opt on the side of caution here. But even though Shannon is not here, we still have to talk about beef stew.
Oh, of course. So in honor of Shannon's absence, last night, Zach Lowe on ESPN posted his weekly column, and he called Isaiah Beef Stew Stewart, backup center for the Pistons, quote, a legitimate candidate for first team all-rookie. Lowe added, quote, his motor runs hot, always. He is a ferocious rebounder with a fast second jump, and he'll knock you to the ground to send a message. He also added his jump shot is ahead of schedule. We've been loving Beef Stew, probably too much on this pod because we devolve into hours and hours of Pistons talk. But guys, as Shannon has hinted to, and I go to you first, Mike, do we think the Pistons are going to move Mason Plumlee this summer?
I think they almost have to. Which stinks because he's was in an awesome fantasy friendly situation as the starting center with the majority of the minutes early on. But I don't see a scenario in which they keep him. And if they do, I mean, there's a chance he's the backup next year, which obviously it wouldn't be as bad of a situation as when he was backing up Jokic with the Nuggets, but it would still be very bad for his fantasy value.
Yeah, Isaiah Stewart over the past month is the 89th ranked fantasy player on a per game basis. That's in 24 minutes a game. So, yeah, I mean, if he starts next season, I would not be surprised to see people draft him top 60. That's obviously just kind of a shot in the dark here. But, yeah, I mean, if he's someone who can get 30 minutes a game consistently, then I think you're in a really good spot. Or he's in a good spot, I should say.
Pleasantly surprised with the 1.2 blocks a game since he's only 6'8", but boy, he's got a wingspan. And he hustles. He hustles. Alex, take us to some dicey news out of Atlanta.
Yeah, if you've been playing DFS recently, if you are a fan of the Hawks or just kind of are locked into NBA news, you know that the Hawks have been dealing with a lot of injuries lately. Trae Young is questionable for tonight's game against the 76ers. He's missed the past 4 games with I think it was a grade 2 ankle sprain, which, like, if you looked online, had anywhere from, it could be like a 2 to 4 week recovery time, and he might be back in like a week and a half. So that'd be pretty impressive. But Kevin Huerter's already out. DeAndre Hunter is still out. And then we have Clint Capella and Bogdan Bogdanovic, both questionable. It's the first night of a back-to-back for Atlanta, Ken.
Yeah, I smell rest day for the Hawks here. Playing the Philadelphia, I think they may just tank this one and put their sights on Saturday's game. Their situation's pretty good. I mean, they're locked in, obviously, to a playoff spot. There are only one game out of avoiding the play-in tourney, though. The Nate McMillan run here has been impressive. You hate to see things topple over due to all these injuries. Mike, I know you pay a lot of attention to Hawks lineups. You have any Hawks in your DFS suggestions tonight?
I mean, if they do end up ruling out Young and Bogdanovic, I mean, how can you not like Lou Williams? Over the last 5 games, he's averaging 14.2 points and 3.8 assists. So he's going to get all the playing time that he can handle if those guys are out again. So that's something to keep on your radar as you're watching for news throughout the day.
Yeah, Capella not playing too. Interesting, big situation. Boy, I don't know. How do we feel about any of the bigs on the Hawks?
I mean, Okongwu's okay, right? I mean, I don't really necessarily like any of them for DFS. I think they have relatively low ceilings.
I agree. I'm with Alex.
All right, gentlemen. Well, it's time to shift gears into our fan feedback section. Shout out to superfan Mr. Power Metal first. He wants some keeper league help from you two. Which of these 2 players he's got a few guys who are locks, but he wants to know which of these 2 players do you keep next season? Jonathan Isaac, Lonzo Ball, DeJounte Murray, Michael Bridges, or PJ Washington. The latter, of course, 2 bigs for Charlotte.
Boy, I mean, I would say you lock in DeJounte Murray. That's the one I feel the most confident about.
Mm-hmm.
And then if categories aren't an issue, like if you're not in desperate need of like steals or something, I mean, all these guys are actually good defensive players. That's the interesting thing, right? I'm kind of partial to Lonzo Ball just because I know, he's been a top 40. Like he shows that he can be a top 40 fantasy player when he stays healthy and he plays 30 minutes. I don't think anybody else on this list has shown that. So my initial thoughts is lock in Murray and then strongly consider Lonzo. But what do you think, Mike?
100% agree. Murray was the easy first of those 2 for me. And I also agree that I think Ball should be the second one. And 1, I worry about Isaac. Who knows how healthy he's going to be throughout his career. And 2, the thing you got to realize with Ball is just with his name recognition alone, even if you don't want him, he's someone that you might be able to get more than what he's actually worth in a trade, especially in a keeper league. So that's something to keep in mind is you keep him and maybe you're not 100% sold on him. So you try and shop him and see if you can get an upgrade for next season.
All right. Good input. We also heard from Ramesh K. He wants to know from Alex, why is it the Bucks seem to be the only NBA team who doesn't give in to resting their players? I've got some thoughts on this, but Alex, you are our resident Bucks expert.
Yeah, I mean, in past seasons, I would say that it's because so many blowouts, like Middleton play like 29 minutes a game. That's not as much the case this season. I think part of it might be that they don't practice as much as other teams or they take more days off. At least that's what I've heard. They have, I think, some days where they just like basically lock guys out of the gym. I don't know how many other teams do that. I don't know. It is kind of interesting.
I think they're girding themselves for a strong playoff run after some disappointing. I think Budenholzer got too much heat for going too deep and rotating guys too much. I think he's girding this improved starting lineup play crazy minutes in the playoffs. I'd say Thibodeau, though, has the monopoly on playing guys to death, not the Bucks this year. Mike, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, the Thibodeau thing is perfect. And when I saw this question when we were preparing for the show, I was listening to Alize Johnson on the Bulls Talk podcast, and he had Luol Deng on. And this Luol Deng
can no longer walk anymore, right?
Yeah,
after,
the best story that Deng said was he was coming back from a lengthy absence due to injury, and he sat down with Tibbs and the medical staff, and they agreed to a minutes limit. And then the game started, and he played almost all of the minutes in the first half. And Tibbs looked at him at the half, and he said, "So, how you feeling?" And Deng said, "Good." He said, "Do you want to play more?" And he said, "Well, I thought I reached my minutes limit." He says, "That's okay. If you want to play more, you can play more." So Deng said, "Sure, I'll play more." And he played like 8 or 9 minutes past what he was supposed to. And he was talking about that's how he loved Tibbs for him doing that. So it's some stories that you don't really hear too much anymore.
I love the idea of Tibbs like constantly just like screaming and yelling during like the game, but then when it comes to like talking to a player about his minutes, he's like, "Hey man, how are you feeling?
Right. Yeah.
You want to play some more minutes? Like, are you cool with that? How are you feeling?
Should we get some shaftas and discuss this over some cookies?"
Yeah.
Noah comes over and pats him on the back. "It's good, man. Let's play."
Well, fans, if you'd like us to answer your question in the YouTube, answer your question during the pod, please go to the RotoWire YouTube channel and leave comments underneath this episode, and we'll address them next Friday. All right, guys, should we dive into our waiver wire suggestions as teams get ready for their playoff runs?
Let's do it. So the player I'm going to start off with that's available in 50% of leagues, this is kind of relevant to what we were talking to before. Dorian Finney-Smith on the Mavericks. You don't know about Porzingis' situation at this point, but I think he's a fine ad. Regardless, he is rostered in only 43% of Yahoo, 27% of ESPN leagues over the past 2 weeks. He's ranked 44th on a per game basis, behind 14 points, 6 rebounds, 3 threes, assist and a half, 1.3 steals. He also qualifies for Ken's dull suggestion of the week. Someone that can basically, like, if you're in a 14-team league, you can just keep Dorian Finney-Smith on your bench like the whole season and play him when you need him on a 4-game week.
Can I suggest another map? I'm going to throw out there Tim Hardaway, who started 3 of the last 4 games for the Mavericks, exploded for 42 points last night. A lot of shots if Porzingis is going to sit for a while, which I think he will. Obviously, Hardaway, extremely streaky shooter. But if he gets on a hot streak this week, that could be fortuitous. He's owned in 57% of Yahoo leagues, by the way.
Yeah, you might be able to get him if you're in like a 10-teamer. Mike, how about you?
Yeah, Sadiq Bey, the bidet, Detroit Pistons. The only
that
team
nickname's catching on like wildfire, baby.
I had to make sure, even though Shannon wasn't here, we had to say the nickname. The Pistons are the only team to play 5 games next week. Bey is available in 65% of Yahoo leagues. He has not been one of the Pistons that they've been resting. He's averaging almost 15 points, 5.2 rebounds, 1.2 steals, and 2.9 3-pointers over the last 13 games. The only word of caution with him is he's shooting just over 40% from the field for the season. So he's a little bit more valuable in points leagues than he is in category formats. But the bidet with 5 games, how can you not like it? All
right. Well, I already blurted out one available in 50% league suggestion, but I'll repeat another one from last week. O'Shea Brissett is still only owned in 49% of Yahoo leagues, coming off another good game for the Pacers last night. I'm getting more and more worried about Sabonis's back and Miles Turner's toe. I think Brissett has a good chance at continuing his meaty minutes. And he had 8 blocks in the last 2 games. So if you need some block help, I think Brissett's a viable option. Am I being too pessimistic about Sabonis and Turner, guys?
I don't think so. I mean, it's just one of those things where Turner, there's been no indication that he's coming back soon from what I remember. He's just been like out. And Sabonis, I think, has been like kind of upgraded once in a while, and then he's out, and then his back.
I feel like I've been teasing us with Sabonis.
Yeah.
I know you enjoy writing those injury updates, Alex.
Oh, yeah. Those aren't the ones that bother me as much as like the I can't even think of a good example right now, but players who are just probable. Dennis Schroeder probable for the past 12 games, that kind of a thing. Yeah, I think Brissett's a good call because you don't know when Sabonis and Turner are going to be back. And even though they are kind of fighting for a play-in spot, the Pacers, it's just can't play those guys if they're not healthy.
Yeah. Well, Mike, take us to your long shot of the week.
Yeah, going back to the Pistons, I am actually filling in for Shannon here pretty well.
Literally and figuratively, yes.
Yeah, Frank Jackson, available in 98% of Yahoo leagues. He has not been resting. Again, with 5 games next week, you figure most of their veterans are going to play 3 games tops. Jackson is averaging 15.1 points, 3.1 rebounds, and 2.3 3-pointers over the last 8 games. So if you're in a deep league and you need a little bit of a scoring boost, Frank Jackson, Action Jackson, is your man.
Yeah, Pistons who are not being rested is kind of a key at this point. Didn't think I'd be saying that at this point because they're kind of like the Thunder where they'll rest anyone over the age of 25. So yeah, I think Jackson's been solid for them. He's just mostly a scorer. Like you see if you look on certain sites, you'll see him listed as a point guard, but he is not a point guard. He is a score guard. So don't get that confused if you pick him up. My long shot of the week is Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, who is rostered in 18% of Yahoo leagues, 14% of ESPN leagues. He's ranked 49th over the past 2 weeks on a per game basis, averaging about 17 points, 4 threes, and a smattering of other stats. I think he's a guy who the more healthy the Lakers get, the more upside he has because he's someone who just kind of chases threes and shoots a lot of open threes and threes in transition. And when guys like LeBron and Anthony Davis are around, those are easier shots for him to find. So I'm not worried about those guys coming back. If anything, it may help him. And yeah, I mean, if you need threes, everyone knows that KCP's a guy for you.
Yeah. Can get hot at a moment's notice. I'm going to dive into my long shot. Someone I'm still bitter of the Celtics who have a terrible bench. They let just walk away. PJ Dozier, former Maine Red Claw, dominated the G League. Should be in Carson Edwards' spot for the Celtics. But anyway, he's 28% owned in Yahoo. Nuggets injury woes forcing big minutes on Dozier. Obviously, Jamal Murray's done for the year. Will Barton and Monte Morris have been out for extended periods. He's had 4 starts. And what I love about Dozier is he gives you a little bit of everything across the board. Nice stocks, some points, will hit threes. Not great shooting percentages, but everything else, counting stats look great. So PJ Dozier is my long shot of the week, gentlemen.
I don't think you should be too upset about the Celtics letting Dozier go because I think Jokic can make anyone look like a rotation player.
All right, thanks. Well, you haven't seen Carson Edwards play.
No, I haven't. I remember him last season when he started the first 3 games of the year like hot and then never
did anything. Yeah,
never shot a basketball.
Just the fact that Dozier's 7 inches taller, like that alone should have been let's go with the guy that actually has some height.
Right.
It's not rocket science.
We're just trying to relive the Isaiah Thomas days. It's like
we are shamelessly, hoping, exactly. Boy.
Do you have a dull suggestion for us this weekend?
I do have a dull suggestion, and it comes with a caveat, though, because he's a Los Angeles Clipper, and the Clippers only play 3 games next week. But if you've got daily transactions, Marcus Morris starting for the Clippers, last 8 games, he's put up 20.1 points, 5.4 rebounds, and 3.5 3-pointers per contest. Obviously, Kawhi's battling foot issues for the Clippers, but they're also going to rest Kawhi and PG down the stretch here. They're kind of a lock for the top 4. So I like Marcus Morris a lot if you've got some flexibility on your roster. But again, be warned, Clippers only play 3 games next week.
Okay, let's move on to DFS. A reminder that all of the prices, the salaries that we'll be using for players will be coming via FanDuel. It's an 8-game slate today on Friday. And if you are not playing on you're not playing on FanDuel, you're playing on Yahoo, or you want to try playing on Yahoo, go check out Mike's article on RotoWire for tonight's slate. Mike, how you write that Yahoo article a lot.
Monday through Friday. I I gave up Saturday and Sunday with the kids, but I do every Monday through Friday. So make sure you check that out. I got you covered.
Soon Mike's kids will be writing the Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah, we're not too.
Oh, Dad, I like that price. That's a good
move.
Okay, so the highest over under for today's slate: Trailblazers at Nets, 240.5. That's the highest over under by 13 points. I kind of actually missed last week. Was it last week or the week before where we looked up the highest totals from like 20 years ago? Mm-hmm. I think we should, that could make that a tradition. Cause the last time it was like two teams score 187 points. So main injuries for today's slate, as always, make sure you check the RotoWire lineups page, check the RotoWire news page. If you have the app, use that, just because we've talked about it so many times on this podcast. The injury news this season is crazy. It comes out of nowhere. Half these players are available and then they're not. But right now, we know Kevin Huerter's out, Jaren Jackson's out, Chuma Okeke is out, Mike Conley is out and questionable. We have Kemba Walker, Colin Sexton, Kyrie Irving, Terrence Ross, and Giannis. I'm going to jump right in with, I think he's the most expensive salaried player on the slate. No, he's second. Russell Westbrook, $11,000 against Cleveland. Obviously, like if you're playing cash, you're playing a 50-50. Westbrook makes sense. He's got a really high floor. Obviously, he's averaging 57 fantasy points over his past 10 games. The Cleveland matchup should be pretty easy for him. But the main thing here is Washington. Like, Washington needs to win games.
Right.
So
they're playing. They actually care.
Yeah, they're in the 10th seed right now. They're 28-34. So they will not be taking it easy, I don't think, against Cleveland.
And you're talking about Westbrook is second most expensive. Well, most expensive is Giannis, and he's probably not playing.
Right. Mike, who's someone that you are checking out for tonight?
Yeah, I like from that same game, like you said, the Wizards play at the fastest pace in the league, so that's an appealing matchup. Darius Garland, 7,800. He scored at least 35 FanDuel points in 9 of the last 10 games. Colin Sexton's questionable with that concussion, so if he doesn't play, then I think Garland should be almost a lock, especially in cash games at that salary. If Sexton does play, I still like Garland just because of the matchup.
Garland has been very good lately, like very much a second year guy who kind of like really stepped up. Kind of reminds me of when a couple seasons ago, De'Aaron Fox didn't have an amazing rookie year. And then like he was being drafted in like the 120s. And then as a sophomore, he just like shot up the ranks. And that's kind of what's happening with Garland at this point.
Yeah, he's really appealing.
Yeah. And we talked about before the Hawks injury situation. If Clint Capella, who is questionable, sits, I think you have to really consider Joel Embiid against the 76 or from the 76ers. He's 10,200. That's a salary.
Facing a rookie.
Yes. Embiid's recent string of games hasn't been fantastic. He's been under 30 minutes a game. The performances have kind of reflected that. But I think if Capella's out, this is just a spot for him where he could absolutely, go for 60 fantasy points or something like that. Because, Philly, like, they've locked in a playoff spot, right? Like, they don't have to pedal to the metal every single game, but they do have a chance to get the number one seed if they keep winning games. Like, they're only one game behind the Nets in the loss column, so they do have reason to play hard and play their guys.
If Capella doesn't play, is there a prop bet we can wager on a Kongu fouling out?
Over under 10 minutes?
I don't know if he makes it to the fourth quarter, to be honest.
I'm not sure if that would be available on any approved RotoWire, partners.
I gotta talk to Rocky over at the sports bar. I hear you. Okay.
Yeah. Just hit me up on Slack. I'll give you my personal odds for that, and we can work something out. We'll trade Bitcoin. We'll do the whole thing. Mike, who else are you looking at for today's slate?
Yeah, I really like Buddy Hield. He's 7,000 even on FanDuel. The Kings are just a train wreck right now. De'Aaron Fox is out. Harrison Barnes going to miss his second straight game. Since Fox went down, Hield has averaged almost 20 points, just over 5 rebounds, 5 assists, 1.3 steals, and 1 block. across 3 games. So that's about as appealing as it gets. Also going to some big men. I can't talk enough centers. Jonas Valanciunas and Jared Allen are both 6,800. Allen torched the Wizards when they played over the weekend. He had 56.4 FanDuel points. So if Sexton is out again, they might ask for even more from him. And if you're working your way a little bit lower,
you're not concerned about the Alex Len matchup?
Well, I was going to let Alex talk about Alex because I know how much he loves him, and Len has been playing pretty good the last couple of games.
Actually.
What do you think, Alex? Is he on your list?
Jared Allen is on my list. Alex Len, not so much.
5,400. He's cheap.
Yes, he is.
He's back to back 33 plus fantasy point nights.
That's not bad. I mean, listen, he has his moments. Okay, at this point, Alex Len is a moments player.
He's happy to be employed in the National Basketball Association right now.
Yeah, and I'm sure he will be for 5 years as like a third string center most of the time. But hey, I mean, he's good once in a while.
Look at his pension.
My last suggestion here, DeAnthony Melton, 4,300 is his salary. That's against Orlando. Grayson Allen is doubtful for this game. Melton's pretty risky because I'm not really sure how the Grizzlies are going to handle the Allen absence.
Could it go to Desmond Bain? Bain?
I mean, that's the thing. I just don't know. Like, is it going to be Desmond Bain? Is it going to be? I mean, Conchar could play some more minutes. But I think Melton has the highest ceiling of those guys. So if you're just shooting for, hey, who's someone that has, upside of 35 to 40 fantasy points if they get 25 to 30 minutes, I think it's Melton because he's a huge steals guy. So he's someone that could come away with 4 steals. And that's obviously worth a lot on FanDuel. But if you're looking for someone kind of risky who may not be in a ton of lineups, I think Melton is a guy there.
Could tonight be a slow-mo night? I mean, the low ceiling is always depressing with slow-mo, but 5,500.
No, because Jaren Jackson's out, and
right.
Yeah, Slow-mo's minutes have been down since Jaren Jackson came back. So yeah, I'm with you on that, Ken. I think it's a great night for Slow-mo. Who's having
Kyle Anderson, we should say, for those not familiar with the awkward nicknames of the Grizzlies. for the MLB fans that are who randomly stumbled upon this podcast and are like, you know what, a couple hundred on NBA DFS. What the hell?
Who is Slow-mo?
Who are those excited Grizzlies that I could wager on?
I'm typing it in on FanDuel and it doesn't come up.
Who is Slow-mo?
Mike, let's round out this segment.
Yeah, I think one last situation you want to keep an eye on is the Nets. They played last night, so I think that means Kevin Durant's probably going to sit out. Now, Kyrie Irving sat last night. I think that was more of a rest situation than anything else, so he probably will play today. 2 guys I like, Bruce Brown. Now, he's missed a couple of games with a knee injury, but if he returns, I think he's a great option. He's averaged 35.1 FanDuel points across his last 9 games before getting hurt. Now, I thought about butchering this name on purpose so I could get on the mispronounced name list. It's kind of like a bucket list thing, but I did look up the pronunciation. It's Alize Johnson at 3,500 on FanDuel. He crushed the Pacers yesterday. He had 20 points, 21 rebounds, and 2 blocks. Blake Griffin might sit this game out for rest. We got Aldridge retired. So Johnson, if you want to take a flyer in tournament play, I think he's an option.
Crazy how the Nets let the Pacers get back into that game last night. But I guess when you have all the sitting woes the Nets do, anything's possible. But it was like all the Pacers scrubs. Cockroach got in there and played some good ball. I don't know. It's just odd to see. The Nets don't care, right? What do they have to play for the rest of this regular season?
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't even check. Durant did hit the over on his player prop, which was, I think, 29.5 points. Felt like a pretty easy over to me when I wrote the article, but that's not always the case.
He was 16 for 24 from the field. He's shooting like 60% plus since he came back from that lengthy absence.
Perfect from the charity stripe.
Unbelievable.
Stripe last night. Yeah. 10 times.
If he was healthy the whole year, if he played every single game, played 35 minutes, I think he might finish like 4th in MVP.
Does he ever have a 75 plus game season though?
From here
I
on
don't
out?
think so. Yeah, here on out.
No way.
I don't think that ever happens.
No way.
I don't think so. But hey, as long as you have him in the playoffs, I think you're pretty happy with that.
Maybe if he plays for Tibbs, that'd be the only situation.
Right.
His knees bleeding and Tibbs just like, get in there.
Get out there. We need a rebound.
More defense out of you, Durant.
Yeah, they would bench him for like 4 weeks just to have him like go in the gym and like eat pizza and do bench press. They'd be like, we don't need you on the court right now, Kevin. We need you to be able to guard Joel Embiid in the finals, in the conference finals.
He just switched teams again.
Yeah, Ken. It's time for your old man rant.
The play-in tournament is stupid. Ooh, let's get excited about the Wizards and Bulls fighting for the 10th spot. Ooh, or how about New Orleans attempting to catch the Warriors at 10th out west? Who cares? All 4 teams have losing records. They shouldn't even catch a whiff of playoff scent. The Bulls are a crappy 26-36. The NBA season, even at a limited 72 games a year, 72 games this year, it's way too long. What's the point of a regular season if almost everyone makes the playoffs? So instead of teams 10 through 12 tanking, now we have teams ranked 4 to 6 coasting into the playoffs without a care in the world. Go back to 16 playoff teams. A solid go-to for the old man rant is just complain about anything new.
100% agree. That was fantastic. As a Bulls fan, the play-in tournament is garbage. I do not care. I like getting Vucevic because they can't attract free agents, but you're 100% right. The play-in tournament has got to go.
How many more years does Vooch have on his contract with Chicago?
2 more.
2 more. Okay.
Yeah, I think the hope has got to be you get a decent free agent this summer, right? I mean, it's not.
I mean, look at the backup plans. They miss out on LeBron and Dwayne Wade. They get Carlos Boozer. They miss out on Carmelo Anthony, and they get Paul Gasol's corp. I mean, it's just like, what else can we do? Who are we going to sign next? Lou Williams? I mean, what's next?
What was his total? What was Gasol's total minutes for the Bulls? Like 12 or something? It was ridiculous. Right?
No, he made 2 All-Star teams on the Bulls. This is not. I'm not making this up.
All right. Sorry. I'm thinking of his last season there. Yeah. I'm sorry.
You might be thinking of Milwaukee.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
He walked into the building, took a jump shot, and broke his foot. I think that's
got his check, then broke his foot.
He was replacing Boozer, so they just set the bar so low. As long as he didn't yell at Noah to grab rebounds, get it, Joe. I mean, that's all Boozer did.
He's just yelling it in Spanish instead.
Yeah,
Joe didn't even understand him. It wasn't in French. He was like, "Why? Qu'est-ce que c'est?"
Calm down, man. I'm working on it.
All right, true confession. The only reason I invited Barner on the pod was hoping for a Bulls rant. And I should have just deferred the old man rant for you to get everything off your chest about, come on, there's got to be some more anger. What else are you angry about the Bulls before we go?
I actually kind of had a semi-old man rant prepared. Can I go with it?
Please.
All right. Yeah, all right. This is kind of like a middle-aged man rant or like a late 30s man rant. But what? Okay, first of all, why are there so many streaming services now?
Ooh.
Can't I just pay $10 a month and watch everything on Netflix? I have to get Hulu and Peacock and Paramount Plus and all these other weird things. I just want to watch reruns of The Office and pay $10. This is garbage.
I want to go back to the 2 dials, one for channels 1 to 12, and then the UHFs.
This is awful. I cut the cord and I pay more now. I can't find Paw Patrol anywhere for my children. This is awful.
I've been waiting for Paw Patrol to make the pod. Thank God.
Yeah. That's an old man rant I can get behind.
All right, thank you for indulging me. I was really excited about that.
My wife was actually spent an hour and a half last night trying to figure out all the different viewing apps we have on our smart TV.
My wife rearranged them the other night.
That's what she did that too.
Too many. Yes, you see, our wives are kindred spirits.
Oh, we should get them some cheap wine and a back porch to hang out. They'd probably divorce us, but it would be at least entertaining.
Yes, would not go well.
All right, Alex, did we butcher any names?
Wait 30 seconds. Once the router is back on and connected to the internet, plug it in.
Oh, sorry, my mic was muted. The Alize Johnson, that was news to me. I would have slandered Ken for saying Alize. And then it turns out it was Alize. I thought it was Alize.
He's admitting that we do not know how to pronounce it.
Yeah.
You were right, Mike.
Alize.
I would have said
right.
Alize as well. I didn't think to look it up. I thght it was Alize. I know.
I watched YouTube highlights to make sure.
I know. Oh, it's easy. Oh, it's easy to check. We could probably we ought to look. We ought to research a little more. But you putting it phonetically in the notes, that's the way to go. That's the way to go for sure.
I got you.
Yeah. So I think we avoided too many mispronounced names, but as usual in our waiver wire section, it feels strategic that we include names like, well, Dozier isn't necessarily easy, but Morris, Brissett, Bay, Smith, names like that. So that will pretty much do it for us, everybody, on the RotoWire Fantasy.
Do you want to recommend? You want to recommend Poku just so you can say that eloquently again, Alex? Because you're always good at that.
Alexei Pokushevsky.
Oh, yes.
I got it. I can type that too. That and Mihailuk. Those are like my
resume worthy.
I put that on my resume.
Points.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Can type Mihailuk without looking. Okay, Ken, let's take us out of here with a quote.
Yeah, let's go to Denver, or at least that's where he plays now, where JaVale McGee has played only 5 games in April for the Nuggets, but a few years ago, he decided to wear a Bo Jackson jersey post-game. When asked about it, he said, Bo Jackson did everything. I feel like low-key I'm a Bo Jackson. JaVale McGee. Okay. Attention, passengers. This 3-car fantasy train wreck has hit the end of the line.
Try RotoWire today, free for 10 days. Get our premium tools, rankings, analysis, and breaking news alerts. No credit card required. Go to rotowire.com/try.